As a father, my kids mean the world to me. I want to make their future and the future of all Nebraskans strong and vibrant, and that's why I'm running for legislature. I will support our public schools and fight for real property tax relief. I'll fight against any new taxes on groceries, prescription drugs, and youth sports. And unlike my opponent, I'm opposed to the complete and total ban and criminalization of abortion. I'm Michael Young, a business owner, a leader, and most importantly, a father. Thank you for your vote.
Hey, welcome back to Moving People to Action, where we listen, learn, and then we gotta move, right? We got it. Action is what this social media platform is all about. How do we move people to action? With that in mind, I want to welcome Brian Kruse. He's our Douglas County Commissioner in charge of the elections in the area, and then I want to welcome Precious McKesson. No, I want to. Did I say your last name right, Precious? I love just your name.
McKesson, like McKesson Pharmaceuticals.
McKesson. I got you. Well, welcome you guys. Let's jump into this. This theme tonight is the power of the vote. Now, Brian, across the country, man, they are sounding off. They're changing laws. They got armed guards, people showing up with machine guns. What the heck is going on? Do we need to give them our playbook in the heartland of how we do this thing? Talk to me, man.
Well, first, I'd like to thank Michael Young for his nice comments, and he did witness it firsthand, and things did not change. And I think it was 20 votes, if my memory serves me correct. When we had Mike Boyle's race back in May of 2020, that was also 3 votes that didn't change with him and Roger Garcia. So having said that, I believe 100% in our people, our processes, and our products, the machines we use here and other things. And, yeah, I think we do things the right way here in Nebraska and in Douglas County. I don't want to be overly confident or maybe toot my horn too much, but, I think if some other states, some other jurisdictions kind of looked at us and took a playbook out of the way we did things, I think some other places would be better off. And I think first and foremost on that is our office strives day in and day out to be nonpartisan. We really try to be nonpartisan. Of course, I'm appointed by the governor. There's no secret there. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows my deputy's a Democrat. But you know what? When we walk through those doors each and every day, we're all about access for the voter, free and fair and honest elections. And, on election day, leading up to election day, but election day, when we start to look at those results, my deputy and I always say, we don't care who wins, just make it by a wide enough margin. We don't have to have a recount.
I know that's right. So Precious, just your take in terms of just, this here locally, what's at stake? I know I hear you all the time stressing the power of the vote, getting people out. Let's localize that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you so much for letting me come on to use your platform to talk about this. And then thanks to Brian. Brian is a very great partner in this work that we're doing here in Douglas County, him and Chris. And for years, we've always had a great relationship with the Douglas County Election Commissioner, and we trust and we know these are fair elections, and they really strive for that. And so I appreciate the partnership that we have and working with them as we send our voters to vote early. I also appreciate the fact that they're open later to allow people to come in person to vote. Those are things that we have to see across the nation and locally to really help people turn out the vote. Just the other day, I went by the box. Now, I'll tell you, I've been to this drop-off box 3 times I've been there. And
do we have any armed guards waiting for you?
No, it's actually a camera there now. And I was
Okay.
like, oh my gosh, I took a picture of it and it made me feel good because it's like, okay, every time I've gone, like we're taking the necessary steps to make sure that people feel safe with dropping off those ballots. And I'm dropping off this ballot 9 and 10 o'clock at night. So if you look at the camera, you might see me take a picture just because I was really surprised to see it. But it was my way of saying I appreciate that.
Yeah,
but when we talk about the local elections, we're talking about how important it is to vote. And we stressed it. We stress it so much. You can get as many people you want to register to vote, but if they don't exercise the vote, that part to actually cast in that vote, that registration is just a registration. I love seeing how many people are registered from different parties, but I want to see the numbers on the election day, how many people actually turned out. And so local elections are very important. I mean, they're very critical to what we have going on now. We have so many people who are running and Raheem made a very, valid point. There's a lot of empty spaces. And, and that's something that we have to go back to and think about, like, why do we have so many empty spaces? And I tell people all the time, we have those empty spaces because it costs money to run these elections. It costs money to be on that ballot. It costs to run a good campaign. And there are people who be like, you know what, I'm just not, if they see a name and they're like, I know what they got, I'm not about to go up against that. And so we have to get to the point to where we have people to say who don't care and who want to run on the fact that don't be scared of money. So
no, just real quick, Precious, should people trust the system?
Yes, our Secretary of State stated in 2020 that we have fair elections. Our elections are safe. I honestly, and I say that as being the person who cast the electoral vote, for Joe Biden and for Kamala Harris. And as an elector, that's only been done 2 times in the state of Nebraska, in 2008 and in 2020. So I very much so believe that in the state of Nebraska, and I believe this, we have fair elections. I think we've only had one, and I think, and Brian, correct me, I think it was like maybe in the 80s or the 90s, one in an entire state of some type of fraud that was done. And I don't even think it was done intentionally, but that's the only thing we could find. So I do trust that our elections here in Nebraska are they're fair, they're safe, and we have good people in place. When it comes to recounting, we have lawyers that come in, and we've never been told, no, we can't have an official watch the recount. It's always been, or account like, hey, make sure who is your person who's coming in. Even for poll watching. I mean, we have stakeholder meetings with the election commission office leading up to the election with all different stakeholders throughout the state who are really working and getting votes in and getting people to vote. And we talk about like, hey, here are the rules. And we've always had people follow the rules. And so I do believe that our state we have safe elections.
I think it's just that Midwest, is that DNA. We just, the accountability, I think it's nothing wrong with accountability, those cameras that you talked about. But Brian, I mean, have we made it? What has your office done to make it easier for folks really to exercise that vote? How many polling places? Talk about if folks are confused about where they need to go and vote. Give them a little bit of one-on-one to make sure we remove any barriers in terms of them voting.
Sure. So one of the things, since Chris and I got here, one of the things that I wanted to do right away was get out in the community, and so we go to groups all across the community from Empowerment Network, South Omaha Neighborhood Association, Rotary Clubs, Millard Business Association. I mean, we go all over the place. One of the other big things that we did was because of the increase in early voting, even before the pandemic back in 2018, we started what we call an early voting request list. Other counties had done it. It's for folks who like to vote early, because in the state of Nebraska, you have to request a ballot each and every time with your signature on it. So we started this list so folks who like to vote early now get a green postcard from us if they choose to be on this list. It's a little reminder, hey, the election's coming. If they want an early voting ballot, they sign it and send it back. If they want to vote at the polls, they don't return it. And, we've got almost half of our voters on that list now, so that was one of the things. Another thing that we did during the pandemic, one of the things that was very important to me was the pandemic was basically St. Patrick's Day, and then, what was it, May 10th, 18th, somewhere less than 2 months later, we had an election, and the state determined that we were going to have polling places. And I said, here's the deal. I said, we are going to have neighborhood polling places. I said, we're not going to cram people into the CHI Center or the Embassy Suites, somewhere. One, because I think neighborhood polling places are extremely valuable, because we still have folks that walk to their polling place, ride their bike, use public transportation, and that is important. The other thing was, we saw the disaster that happened in Milwaukee and Atlanta when they tried to, do those large polling places. The other reason was simply for public health too. At that point in time, why do you want to cram all these people in a big building when we knew it was spreading, if you were too close together? But the very most important thing was the neighborhood polling places. Yeah, we went down to 200 or 201 neighborhood polling places, and we had to move some places. We had to leave, retirement centers. Omaha Housing Authority asked us to leave. So we did, but we also had a program, Preston Love helped us and some other folks, and we had, worked with them to make sure that those folks had access to the early voting. So it's things like that, along with the additional hours we have. We're open on Saturday, and now, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 weeks before, we're open until 6. So it's just things like that. And, a lot of these suggestions have come from our stakeholders group.
Right on.
They give us suggestions. We take them back. We can't do everything. Maybe we can't do everything right away. Maybe we can't do some things till we get a law changed. But we're always willing to listen.
There you go. Hey, in closing this segment, Precious and Brian, anything you want to leave with our viewers?
Well, I'll just go real quick first. I've probably taken up too much time. I just want to say, we just encourage voters to make a plan. If you're going to get a ballot mailed to you, the last day to request a ballot to be mailed to you is Friday, October 28th at 6 p.m. You can come and do in-person voting in our office through November 7th. Additional office hours are open or are on our website, or you can go to your polling place on November 8th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So make a plan and follow through with your plan. And if you have any questions, go to our website at votedouglascounty.com or call us at 444-VOTE. We're here to serve you. We're here to help you, and we're happy to do it.
Right on. Precious.
All I'll say is vote, vote, vote. Show up. Your voice is your vote.
Right.
Show up.
Right
That's all I can say.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you, they hear this often, but it is so true. So many sacrifices, so many people have died in terms of our right, for this right to vote. And I feel, and we'll talk about this in our next segment, but I think this democracy, this thing we call democracy, is built on the foundation, and one of the key principles is the vote. And too many people take it for granted that somebody else is going to do it. No, we have to do it. This is in sports, this is a participation sport, right? You just can't sit there and think everybody else is going to score the touchdowns. You got to do your part. And I challenge the folks out there, not only take care of yourself, take care of the people in your household, people around you. Make a phone call. Make sure your friends, family, they're registered to vote. Call them, help them with the ballot, explain the ballot, do whatever you need to do. But this is a collective effort that we all have to pay attention to. So with that, We're going to take a short break, and then joining me after this break, we have the legendary, the one and only Mr. Michael Scott. I'll let him introduce himself. And then we have Yolanda Taylor that's going to be we're going to talk about this new initiative that they're going to be jumping off. But more importantly, I'm going to ask Precious to stay with us as well. And we're going to talk at a high level nationally, really this midterm election. But more importantly, how did we get here to where there's so much confusion, so much distrust in our system? And how do we get back to the center? Where do we take this thing? Right on. So stay with me. We'll be right back. Thank you, Precious and Brian. Appreciate your work.
As a father, my kids mean the world to me. I want to make their future and the future of all Nebraskans strong and vibrant. And that's why I'm running for legislature. I will support our public schools and fight for real property tax relief. I'll fight against any new taxes on groceries, prescription drugs, and youth sports. And unlike my opponent, I'm opposed to the complete and total ban and criminalization of abortion. I'm Michael Young, a business owner, a leader, and most importantly, a father. Thank you for your vote.